Good morning, Samoa, and welcome back to Doctor Who. I meant to look up if it was season or series. We'll go with Series 2, Episode 4, The Girl in the Fireplace. Some fans, okay, I won't blame everyone, some fans get real uppity because the way they did it is the classic Doctor Who is, I think, it's season, which is the American way. This is why I get confused. And New Who is series, and that was intentionally done so that you could like tell the difference between the two. But some fans get real uppity if you A, don't know that, B, don't know which is which. They're just like, actually series 4 came out in like the 60s. And it's like, yes, but we're talking about Donna Noble. I think it was very clear from context clues. It's like, hey, first time posting on the Reddit, I just finished series 4 with Donna, and then it's the most like, actually. It's like, dude.
We've wasted no time getting into the digressions.
No. Yeah, we're watching Girl in the Fireplace today. I'll start, because we'll probably do a fair amount of rambling. If you don't know what we're doing, we're basically recording an audio commentary track live. So, for legal reasons, I can't just stream the episode. I've got the time bar on screen right now, and I'll have a blurred version of the episode once we start actually get going to help people sync up. But yeah, it is bring your own video. This is a little bit unfortunate for Doctor Who because there are two versions. There's the original UK version and the original US version. I suppose actually there's 3 when we're watching the 3rd. But to simplify, like, you know, if you're watching with streaming or Blu-ray, you're going to have one of those two things, unless you're actually watching it from the past when this first broadcast. But if you are watching it live, I remembered to say that bit first. This is the American... Well, this is the UK version at American speeds. It is from the David Tennant Collection Blu-ray box set, which is an amazing deal. I say everyone should pick up like 4 of it at least. But what this means is that it would be exactly what you watched on the UK if you watched it when it came out, except it's about 4% faster for reasons that are an absolute nightmare. In the description, well, first off, it'll actually tell you what version it is if you're not live, and there might be a link to the other one day. There probably will be, just one day. It's a faff. But, yeah, the reason it's the UK version but sped up is that the BBC, of course, does not have commercials because they're a good country. Well, they're a better country, but like there are aspects where they're a lot better, you know. But God, where was my point? Oh, yeah, so for America to cut it down to what BBC America produced, they sometimes cut scenes. Most episodes are fine. I think it's really only specials that get it, but every now and then there's like an extra scene you might not recognize. But yeah, if you've got like an American Blu-ray, this is what it'll be. You might even... I keep forgetting to check if you can just change the speed of the playback on YouTube with that much granularity. But it will make a difference. You'll be like 5 minutes off or something by the end of the video. Actually, more like 2. I don't know. But yeah, Caden, Girl in the Fireplace.
I'm excited.
Have you ever been sitting down watching Rogue and just going, you know, I just wish this wasn't gay?
From time to time.
Well, you're supposed to say no.
No, never.
Well, that's good, because if you are here and having thought that, I'd recommend you check out any of the other YouTube channels recommended on the right. I've heard they're of a type.
Go Bart! Sorry. Dog's going crazy.
I knew I was going to make that joke that A, I didn't want to tell you it in advance, and B, that you might yes and me there. But yeah.
So here's the thing. Ever since we've seen Rogue and I've learned of the existence of Girl in the Fireplace, I've sat down and I've gone, I wonder what that's going to be like.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm one to talk because I've said before, I'm not a big fan of either episode. I mean, Rogue was the one I rated the worst by far of season 14, I've decided to call it. But there was a point there. No, I mean, we'll get into the real reasons why. I mean, I think Girl in the Fireplace and Rogue both do things I don't like, and they do them in the same way. It's just Girl in the Fireplace had a little bit more. Interesting to note, though, if you recall when we did our reviews, because if you don't know what we're talking about, maybe you're going in order. There's a very similar episode for the 15th Doctor's first season called Rogue. It seemed to be a very popular episode. Like, I was the only person in the universe who didn't like it. I think the fandom might be turning on Rogue, if I'm being honest. It's still early days. You know, the fandom's not quite settled. Heck, right. There are stories from, like, the 60s where every few decades, the fandom will switch on. But, no, there was not too long ago, since we did the last live stream, there was a post where someone was like, I think they was like, oh, I just watched Rogue. Like, this was, like, my best episode, 10 out of 10. And all the comments were kind of like, good for you, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. Or it was talking about how the Doctor was, like, weirdly horny for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, how he was kind of just out of character. And I was like, yes, they're learning. No. Yeah, I think the fan opinion is just kind of turned, which honestly makes sense, because the fandom has never really liked the Doctor being romantically involved. Yeah. Like, and that wasn't just romance, that was sexual. Like, Rogue is very sexual. It literally has the Doctor do a sexy dance under the threat of death. Like, yeah, it's interesting. This is not, I mean, it's still like David Tennant being the 10th Doctor. But I think Girl in the Fireplace actually is generally well regarded. There was a fact I said I was going to verify this episode, and I can't verify it. So I think I was confusing it with the Star Trek episode. So that thing I told you after stream isn't true, as far as I can tell. But yeah, generally, it's I think it's the weaker of Stephen Moffat's. Usually it'll come in the bottom when he's not show running. But it's not bad. I mean, maybe he'll turn around. When we did Star Trek yesterday, we did the one with Khan, which you might even be aware of, and I, like, ripped it to shreds. I didn't like it. And I didn't remember not liking it.
I'm quite excited.
Ah, shoot, I did. I forgot my joke about Girl in the Fireplace, the only episode to be banned by Child Protective Services.
Huh?
You'll work it out.
I'll work it out.
Fireplace. Yeah, you know how I did I've decided I'm gonna describe the episodes, but, like, comically, just off the titles. And so Girl in the Fireplace is the only episode to have been banned by Child Protective Services.
Because I just thought I was going to get some niche, obscure Doctor Who lore.
Oh,
where
no.
they had a problem with the episode.
Because they put a girl in the fireplace. You see what the joke's getting?
I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Some of them are hard to do. Alex made the same joke last week, and I didn't even realize.
The cycle of abuse has continued to me.
What's next episode? Oh, yeah, next episode's going to be hard. It's Age of Steel. God, I'm going to do up a fake title on that one. We should probably get going, though, not drag the, like, 0 viewers on for too long.
They're getting antsy.
So yeah, what I didn't say before, actually I've noticed that the viewership on this has kind of dropped off over time. Like 9, we got a lot of pretty popular ones, as I wonder why, as I open my app. Oh, we hit 17 with School Reunion. That one took a little bit, but it's not quite as, I mean, the other Star Trek episodes between it are 41 and 26. So, this is something we do for us. Tooth and Claw was 9, but that was Tooth and Claw. Maybe it's just season 2. You know what? No one's really, as I told you, this is until, if we ignore the 15th Doctor, this is just easily the weakest season of Russell T Davies has done. It might even be weaker than the 15th one. It's just, as I said, we haven't really settled yet. The fandom is still, it needs retrospective. It needs hindsight to really go to deals. But But yeah, I didn't mention before, we are going to be doing a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, we're all going to hit play, and that'll let everyone stay synced up. I also realized, I heard a bit of news, that Doctor Who Season 3, or Season 16, with Shruti Gadwa, depending on what you want to call it, still hasn't been renewed, which apparently isn't particularly odd for, like, the BBC. It's actually odd that, like, Season 1 and 2 were commissioned at the same time. Even though they've, like, written it, which I really wonder how it works. Like, Russell T. Davies apparently expects they won't renew it until after Season 2 is broadcast, which suggests we might have a gap year without main Doctor Who that the spin-off is going to have to fill up, which would be disappointing. I mean, already I don't think we get enough episodes per year, and we might have the 15th Doctor again end up with, like, a really low episode count, even if it's been, like, 5 years. Like, the 13th Doctor is in maybe, like, 20 episodes off the top of my head. She was the Doctor for 5 years. It's like, to be fair, like, 2 of those were COVID years, but, like, that had an effect. But we just kind of see the time in the role going up and the episode count going down.
You guys messed up.
Which is, it's just not right. This is why you need to get into Big Finish. But yeah,
more than I can ever listen to.
I've got my backlog of Big Finish drying up from the last time, and I don't have the money to buy more. So I'm like, oh no. Alex insinuated they might actually be interested in Big Finish coming up because they need something to listen to, and I was very happy about that.
Big.
I mean, they'll probably hate all the best episodes and love all the bad ones, because that's just what they're into, but, you know, fair. I can't judge. I don't like Rogue.
Well, you know.
All right. Well, I also don't like a lot of classic episodes. With Classic Who, the ones that people often say, like, this is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, I usually, like, meh on at best. But that's a story for another year. Shall we do the countdown I teased? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I always start with that. Yeah. And I imagine people like, ugh. But no, it is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, we all hit play. 5, 4. Wait, I'm sharing my screen, right, with you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. Oop. That didn't work. Okay, reset. That one didn't work. Hang on, everyone. We're going to do that again. Yeah, Caden and I were too busy playing Guess the Episode from the Screenshots game. We didn't do any testing. And I think, actually, hang on. Audio is stereo. Subtitles is track 1. There we go. Now we're ready.
I've got to fix my window while you do this.
Wow, I was literally about to do the countdown. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Smooth opening. There we go. This. Oh, why we've frozen? Why? Okay, we're gonna have to redo that countdown. That was 5 seconds. I think VLC. Hang on, VLC Media Player crashed. I think. But what I was about to say is this castle that they use for the episode, it's used in a lot of them. Actually, I don't know if it's the same as last episode. I think I'm getting it confused. But last episode, definitely, you know, the castle from Tooth and Claw? That is the same castle from Rogue, which they did that castle up very well. Huh. I did not recognize it. But yeah, they use it a lot, apparently. I don't remember what it's called. Okay. Oh, go ahead. Well, in real life. It's not actually the Torchwood.
I thought you meant, like, canonically. I was like,
no. I mean, it's called a bunch of things. Oh, yeah, but yeah, Rogue seems to be, if you like Bridgerton, it was great. But if you haven't seen Bridgerton, it's not for you. That's kind of the fan take, is that it's not necessarily bad. It's just it's for people who've seen Bridgerton, and if you haven't, it's bad. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I think I'm on my external hard drive, which is why we've had a lockup, because we have to do those weird audio settings. Yeah, that's not the Rogue estate. But yeah, that's always my biggest fear, is that the hard drive locks up. You can tell we're in France because this story starts media res.
Immediately, the aesthetic is the same as Rogue. I don't know if it continues this the whole time.
Well, it's Baroque French. Rogue is English, but it's Baroque. I mean, there really are a lot of similarities between Rogue and Girl in the Fireplace. But the setting is actually something I think Girl in the Fireplace does better, because it's not just set in France. So, like, with Rogue, if you're not really into Bridgerton, there's nothing for you. But in Girl in the Fireplace, as you'll see, there's actually a very interesting setup, setting, and mystery going on. There's, like, an interesting alien, whereas the bird people in Rogue are just there, you know?
Yeah.
Not only that, they're like making fun of, it's still kind of tying into the Bridgerton fandom and cosplay and stuff.
Yeah.
And specifically the interest in that, like, court intrigue, melodrama, romantic stuff. Don't get me wrong, Girl in the Fireplace is entirely about, you know, the court intrigue, romance stuff, but also it has a spaceship 3,000 years in the future.
That's a weird spaceship. Oh yeah, Mickey's along now.
Yep. He doesn't get to be in the credits, though. Wow. That's the sign of the well thing that 10 gets from 4 I was talking about in the previous episode. It's not exact, but it's the same sort of thing. It's actually a pretty good space background for the time.
I like the set as much as it is goofy on the outside.
Russell Davies' era very much does like the messy back rooms, grimy sort of feel to its space environments. A quick fact, what year is this? Russell, you already have, like, the only homophobic line in the era. For the Americans might not actually know, that's a British word for cigarette, although it's rather old-fashioned. Actually, this bit always did confuse me a little bit. I guess if it's a double-sided fireplace. Where does the smoke go, though? Is there a like, it's a thin wall. This is exactly what it was like when I got my fireplace inspected.
What happened in Paris in August?
I refuse to believe that she looks through her fireplace and sees like the spaceship on the other end and doesn't go and check it out. Like, It's just so weird. See, this is why this episode's better than Rogue. It's an interesting concept.
I'm here for the concept already, automatically.
Yeah, you're sold. Okay, that's the bit that I was kind of confused about, is why is, like, the other side of the fireplace exist? But you can see there's, like, there's a normal room behind it. I guess this was just a thing in France. Hey, it's not August. She survived. Or it's January.
Like that's a good reason to scream.
No, my fireplace man was lovely. He did charge me like $2,000 though, so that wasn't good. See, Rogue, you get Bridgerton for the opening. Girl in the Fireplace, you get an interesting setting and a very tense scene.
Yeah, I'm
and the little,
here
like,
for this.
Oh, moments, you know. If you just cut out the romance elements, it'd be as good as any other Stephen Moffat. But it's interesting to see what you'll think about them, you know? The only doctors you've seen are 9 Kissing Rose and Rogue, like, sexy dancing. Or shooty. Wow, that was fast. Also, the design on these clockwork robots are beautiful.
Oh, man.
That's spooky. You know, I've never really clocked it, but I like how he can tell that just by looking at her head. I love as well, it's great characterization to have child, I can't remember her first name, but the child to just be totally, like, unabashed by that clockwork robot. She just turns over after the doctor's like, don't look, you'll be scared. And she's like, you want me? And then doesn't even flinch. It's wonderful. Me.
I was so prepared for that to be a flamethrower.
Oof. Yeah, it's already better. I mean, don't get me wrong, we haven't gotten to the bad parts yet, but
I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, it's got so much interesting stuff going on beyond just the stuff with the girl. Clockwork Robots even come back a few times in, like, different parts of the franchise.
I love them.
Pulls out mallet. I'm realizing doing these watch-throughs that I feel I get a lot of my comedy tone from this Doctor in particular. Like,
Yeah.
There's even the bit of a moment where I made a joke and then the 10th Doctor made the same joke. Even the thing where I mentioned he got from 4, where it's like, well. They're bad influences, these companions. He needs Jamie back. Jamie would do what the doctor said. I always liked that about him. It's a very interesting dynamic, too, to get a companion who's like, well, the doctor said stay here, so that's what I'll do. And, like, he's fun. That was it. Tell that to Amy. I feel like it's kind of weird that he doesn't... He seems kind of smitten with her, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't seem smitten with her until he learned she was Renette. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I was actually about to talk how some people complain that, you know, he met this girl with as a child and was then attracted to her. And I've always countered, like, well, no, he's not attracted to the child, clearly.
Yeah.
But that right there is a little weird. You should have had him smitten, like, before he learned it was Renee. Also, let's not remember that he's currently, like, in the middle of his arc with Rose. Like, I get they're not a couple, but...
It's a one-time thing.
Well, still, I feel like Stephen Moffat, when he's not in charge, has a tendency to write a female character and then just, like, sideline the companions for the story. Because, like, look, Rose and Mickey aren't here. They're never going to come to France. Spoilers. They're British. They wouldn't step foot here. What was the other one? Yeah, he wrote Jack kind of focused on him more than Rose in the gas mask one. I have to look up what Moffat wrote, but he does it a lot. Oh yeah, River. He writes River's song and, like, sidelines Donna. He still does stuff with him, but the focus is on the new character. Feel like Madame de Pompadour might get in trouble for that part.
Yeah, you should have kept that down.
Brilliant. Good old Arthur.
10 out of 10 gag.
You know, it's funny because I'm noticing a lot of the jokes kind of follow the format of someone says something, then the opposite happens, which, you know, generally isn't a good way to do comedy. It can be kind of broadcast, you know, it's often bad comedies will do, like, nothing but that. But I feel there's something that works here. I mean, there's more to it, but there is also a level of absurdity, like, just a horse. It's just a horse.
Did say, though, there was no life on that ship.
Maybe it's a new horse. Wait, he didn't scan
robot.
for life. When did they say this?
I thought he did right at the when they got to the ship. He was like, I did a scan, a quick scan.
Ruining my Doctor Who. I hope he never becomes showrunner. Yeah, I guess maybe he didn't scan for, like, horse life, you know?
I guess.
Or it's new. Like, it came through a portal. It probably came through a portal. It's not like the captain. Although, I would love this episode so much more if this turned out to be the captain and it's just horses. Horses who build human-shaped clockwork robots.
Love that.
Brilliant. I think you're a little quiet, Caden. Have you moved your mic? There we go. It's
how
weird.
am I?
You're the same volume. You're just a little quiet on my end. But the stream can't hear the episode, so... You know, it's interesting. I don't know much about France, 1700s France.
Mhm.
But I would hazard a guess that they wouldn't have noble people with that skin color. But
Yeah.
I've never heard someone bring it up here, whereas
Hmm.
it's come up a lot in the 15th Doctor's era, hasn't it? I mean, it's more
Yeah.
overt, having like Newton played by a black actor, or of course
Mhm.
Rogue itself, which just chose to ignore racial inequality. And I could be wrong, of course. Maybe that's an actual historical figure, but I just think it's interesting. I've never heard anything about it from these older episodes.
Yeah, I didn't realize till you said it.
I mean, I also wasn't watching this in 2006, but it's interesting. We'll have to pay attention to the ball later with the crowd. I want him to pick his nose every time I watch this scene. Mickey, what's pre-revolutionary France doing on a spaceship? Brilliant line. I would have loved if, again, he looked back like he heard the tap of the finger. If I wrote Doctor Who, it'd be a comedy. Wonder if that means something, Pompadour. I always assumed it was actually your name. Pick your nose. Come on.
Haven't a clue.
Pick your nose. Stephen Moffat, you love a good joke. I still can't believe not a single, like, you know, what do I mirror joke. Oh, I stand corrected. They do get to go to France.
You were wrong.
You see some really cool cosplays of the Clockwork Robots online.
I'm loving their design.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I'll say it every time, but the historical episodes always tend to have a better looking costumes and sets because the BBC has like always been known for really good historicals. They can just pull their amazing standing costumes and sets out from like the warehouse. Oh, I am Storm. I was about to say, I don't think we ever learn. God, it's so Moffat to have, like, the repeated phrase, you know?
Yeah.
And it's the subversion of expectations. I mean, all of his episodes are peak Moffat. It's always a massive oversight. How many times? How many times do we gotta teach you this lesson, old man? You know what? This isn't even the first time these robots do it in Doctor Who. I don't remember the name, but there's a great Fifth Doctor story with the Clockwork Robots. I think it's part of the monthly adventures. Where, believe it or not, they do the same thing. But... Say this episode is also focusing a lot more on the everything except Renee than I remember it. And it's much better for that. It is a good name. I name all my horses Arthur.
I let you keep Mickey.
I forgot about that line too. You know, in like games and stuff, I always name my horse Arthur because of this. And it's so matter of fact too. Doctor, we need to take you aside and teach you about consent. I know it'll take a few hundred years, but we'll get there. God, that joke is that early. Matt Smith, again, Stephen Moffat's doctor, also has a running thing about how he had some sort of relationship with Cleopatra.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was so early. Yeah, maybe start with that, doctor. Well... I'm older than Renee now. That's fun. Oh, so now it's not good to walk through someone's memory. So I was just enjoying the scene, and then at a moment I was like, oh yeah, I'm live. I gotta commentate. Always the sign of a good episode.
I'm in it.
You know what? I'm actually getting vibes of like a really posh Amy Pond here. I can see the signs of like Moffat's companions, you know? I can see them coming through a little bit in Renee.
She said Doctor Who.
Oh, there's a great scene in season 10 you're gonna love about Doctor Who. I can't wait.
Doctor Dances.
Let's just binge this until we get to season 10. That's a good one. Well, it's got the monks, but, you know, other than that, it's a good one. Love the tandem med bays, though. You know, when you need to do 2 surgeries at once, but only got 1 doctor. I guess transplants, fine.
Yeah, you corrected yourself.
Fine, way to ruin it. Love his Nintendo shirt, though.
I was just thinking that.
I'm wondering if it violates like BBC brand ruling, but they're really strict. You'll like never see brands on Doctor Who, even if it's not sponsored. There's like, because it's a public company, they're real careful about that stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, the oncoming storm. I could totally see 15 doing that, where like Rogue literally becomes a disco.
He looks very gosh, what, Crowley?
Very what?
From the new show he's in. David Tennant's in another show.
Oh, the one about like hell, the good place. That one?
Yeah, Good Omens. He's got the Good Omen glasses.
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
Me neither.
I think Dave always keeps telling me about it. Oh, here's plot. We should pay attention. God, it looks 50. So wait, if we take this to its logical conclusion, does that mean that if they had the parts, they would replace the computer with a 37-year-old computer, not a new one? And if we extend the logic, does that mean the entire crew was 37 years old?
Ooh, let's not look at the logic.
You know, I've watched this episode a few times, and that one's never really occurred to me. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Oh, well, that's easy. I guess they are a part of the ship.
We're just gonna let that happen.
You know, people gave Russell T Davies a lot of slack for some of his magic levers. But you know what?
That was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they are a part of the ship. But I guess is this the med bay? It's convenient. It's a typewriter, I think. Oh, not on the floor. It's not trained. Okay, the magic lever was one thing. The magic lever that unflips itself.
I guess it cancels out.
I want to emergency override the robots. However, I only want that to last 60 seconds. What even is this med bay?
Convenient.
We were talking about the good set designs, but I don't know if there's too much thought put into that room. It's just, we need some tables.
Yeah, it looks cool aesthetically.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. These are nitpicks. The lever is a little more than a nitpick, but you know, it's a good first half. That's that kind of episode. I will say, though, especially comparing it to Rogue, I'm noticing the sets and stuff do seem a little plainer. The outfits maybe a little more costumey. Renee's is good, but especially if you get to some of the random background characters. I mean, as I've said before, Russell T Davies under Disney, it literally changed my opinion that once you hit a certain level of visual quality, the story suffers and the show suffers, like, single-handedly. I was like, oh, that doesn't have to happen. That just happens for everybody else. I think this is the first time we really deal with the idea of, like, everyone else having to take the slow way around, the long way around, which I think is even a Moffat saying. I mean, it really wasn't until Moffat that the show started exploring, hey, we can do time travel. Yeah, like, you have episodes like Father's Day and 2 stories in the classic era, but, you know, Moffat goes ham on it, which I like. Oh, very Moffat idea too. Man, this is just Moffat. You know how the Christmas Invasion is a show of like everything you're gonna get from the 10th Doctor. This is everything you're gonna get from the Moffat era, plus just River and complex plots. It's like that time I crawled through my fireplace. In fact, there I am. That'd be peak Moffat. I like the music to this episode. It's pretty good. It's not my favorite piece, but you know, it's a custom soundtrack that kind of fits the vibe. Yeah. This is, I mean, we're starting to get a take on the Doctor. I'm not the biggest fan of, or I guess it's easier to say I'm a little sick of it. Russell T Davies, no, it really does start under Russell T Davies, and Moffat continues it as the idea of the Doctor is some sort of almost god, like, or massive force of good in the universe. I mean, it gets to the point and eventually where, like, the reason that good triumphs over evil across the entire infinite universe is the Doctor.
Yeah.
And in the classics, he was literally like some guy just traveling. People might have heard of the Time Lords because they're a big deal, but like no one knew who the Doctor was unless he met them before. And I don't know. I'm ready to go back to that. It was fine here with 10 and 11, and it makes sense that as he gets older, as he does more, as he spends more time on Earth, he'd gain such a reputation. But they tried to reset it once. 11 like wipes himself from the history, so no one knows who the Doctor is. Then they have an episode where the Daleks remember, then an episode where the Cybermen piece him together from what's missing, and then we never go back to this idea again. Go get a truck. Yeah, send Rose, then take the TARDIS. I surrender! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, the French. That's absolutely how this would have gone in the 15th Doctor's era, though. That's a line. I like it. It took me a second.
Very French to lob the head off.
Not yet though. We're close.
Oh,
We're getting close. Yeah. 1770s, did he say?
I want to say 20s.
20s? Ah, well, yeah, we're... And now she's like 30 years old. And we're like 20 years off from that. Yeah. Maybe this is where they got the idea. That's not the best effect.
That's horrible. Oh, yeah.
I wonder if it's even David Tennant on the horse, because that was quite a jump. I know, obviously, he didn't go through the window, but someone had to jump the horse. Oh, they are. Look, it's a very diverse crowd, racially. So, yeah, they did the same thing as Rogue. It's just no one noticed. Or, you know, no one's talking about it anymore. Eh. I'm not the most fan of when he does, like, romantic thing or, like, you know, Lord measuring contests, we'll call it. It's just not as interesting to me. I'm sure the 27th Doctor will have a fun time meeting back with Rose and Mickey, though. Look at me, Mickey. I'm the captain now. I know, she's crying. She's like, man, they forgot that we were having a thing this episode. It really is nowhere near as big a part of the episode as I remember. Like, the only thing people talk about for this episode is the Doctor and Renee. And there's maybe been like a minute of that over the past half hour. You know what? I might say this is a good one. This is a good Moffat.
Wow.
Yeah.
It happened.
It's still probably my least favorite, but kind of in the sense of like your least favorite episode of season 1. It's still good.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course, the ones when he wasn't showrunner. He's got a lot of duds, you know, when he starts writing like 60 episodes. I really want a day where, you know, I'm watching Doctor Who and I look at the writers and go, yes, that's the person I want to be the next showrunner. Because that's very much how it was back in the day, is people looked at, like, you know, the 2-3 seasons, and they were like, you know, this Moffat guy could probably really do great running the show. Whereas nowadays, people talk about the next showrunner, and you pull out the list of episodes, and you go, oh, Chibnall? I guess it was all right. Who's the guy now? It's like, I don't remember him, but I look at the episodes, I'm like, oh. I'm thinking more Time Lord. Is that... I'm going to let you work that one out yourself. I think you want to see the stars closer. Yeah, from time to time.
Kind of funny.
I think once I clocked it, I've actually had that one pointed out to me at first, and I forgot about it again. That's exactly the sort of humor I do as well. No one ever gets my jokes. That's why I went into the entertainment business. I was wondering, do you think he could just get a lift from, like, one of his other selves? The first Doctor's gonna pop by in, like, 20, 30 years. You know, talking about the beheadings. Apparently River frequently just, like, finds where the Doctor was and borrows the TARDIS for a bit, and then just puts it back when she's done.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's binge this. Let's get to 12. You know, I got complaints about 12, but he's got a lot of good ones. Maybe because we end on Renee, people...
yeah, we're shifting back.
People remember this aspect of the episode more. But it really doesn't feel like a particular focus. I think maybe Moffat knew as well, especially with how new the idea of the Doctor doing romance still was. I mean, arguably, this is his first real romance. Is the 9 really just had, like, that one kiss, which also had a functional purpose to, like, get the TARDIS out of Rose. He had all these other interesting aspects he wanted to do and talk about. Also, what the hell is this love bed that we just walked by? That bed, this room has a purpose.
Ignore that.
all the chairs facing the bed, too. There were literally rose petals on that bed. Like, I'm amazed it wasn't shaped like a heart.
It's decoration.
Yes, it was decoration of a very particular kind. It is the same fireplace, but I do believe it's a different wall. Isn't it? Wasn't it a red wall before?
I think.
Oh yeah, no, look, it was the one they just turned to, the red wall. That one. What do you think they did? They're in the same room. Did she just sit there with the tear for 5.5 hours? They're just like, Rose,
Staring.
you went to get his Game Boy. Yeah. Oh, the TARDIS is still lit really bad on those windows. You know, from the sides, like I was telling you about. Dang.
I try to avert my gaze.
Yeah. One day, they'll get it right with 11, you know? See, Murray Gold can do a scene without music. Not many, but...
Oh yeah, I like it.
It's a good one. I mean, it's a good story, too. Just kind of weird for the Doctor, you know, to kind of just land here and be like, oh, Renee, man. I mean, I know last episode I was literally just talking about how I can't have a relationship with a human, but, you know, did you see that dress? I'm sorry, I shouldn't speak ill of the dead. I think I was speaking good of the dead, but... You know, I will counter my point, but I say this a lot. There's no really any reason the Doctor can't just go take Renee, go back in time like a few years
I was
later,
thinking
right?
that.
Okay, don't read that, and then you can go do that. Like, you know. Of course, I think the counter is he's now reminded why he can't have a relationship with a human in this scene, at least in his own mind, why he can't. It's done well in that respect. I guess it's a little weird. It's right next to the Sarah Jane episode that has functionally the same message.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved it instead if he was like, oh, I could have too. You'd be amazed. Okay, not the point of the scene, but is Rose wearing a shirt about Wichita?
I think so.
Is there a Wichita in the UK?
Really
I can't make out
that.
the second word.
Indistinguishable lettering on that shirt.
Wow, who chose their outfits for today?
The costume people were out. They had to dress themselves.
I see. Billy Tyler just owns a Wichita shirt. Okay. Even after having read the letter, though, could he just go after? Or, again, I'm going to bring this up later when the pawns leave. Could he just tell Renee to write this? Be like, hey, here's this letter. Could you copy it for me? You know, I already went over the reasons, but... It just happens a lot of the times. The Doctor's like, I've witnessed this thing, so I can't change it. It's like, well...
Mm-hmm.
The worst is a classic Who spoilers, right? But there's a companion who dies. It's a big thing, and the companion's in a spaceship, and the Doctor watches the spaceship crash into Earth, right? He's like, I can't save him. We watched it happen. It's like, yeah, but you watched the outside of the spaceship. For all you know, the entire population of Gallifrey could have materialized on that spaceship and thrown a party. Like, you know, you don't know. And there it is, Madame. Oh, we haven't got the reveal yet. Hang on.
Really
and
like
there it is, the SS Madame de Pompadour. That's why they thought they could use her head.
Funny.
I
guess.
haha.
I guess.
Well, I mean, at least it's explained.
With the doctors.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world to be like, but it is kind of lazy to be like, why did the robots want? It's the thing you can only sort of excuse because the episode itself was quite good.
Yeah.
Are you just looking at this picture of London full of blimps from next episode?
So this is London.
Yeah, just hang on. Do I still have Yeah, here we go. Oh, well, that's not actually the episode monitor. There we go. It's look, I don't know how to set it up, but you see the next time preview of just London full of blips with the subtitle Doctor. So, this is London. This is London. Okay, like that's the next episode, you know. You've
London,
never been to London, have you?
Never have.
And I haven't either, but I've been closer to London than you. So, well,
That's true.
yeah, no, I have. I don't know why. For a second there, I thought Florida might be closer than Italy, but
No, you've gone close.
no, yeah, well, not that close, but yeah, I mean, blimps, as we all know, are actually like fictitious. Like, have you ever seen a blimp?
True.
No.
True.
No. Like, why? Ridiculous. Fictitious.
They're made up.
They're made up. They're like. Give me a hand here. Something old that like it's kind of like maybe fairy tale-esque, but.
Loch Ness Monster.
Maybe.
Bigfoot.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like Cowboy Time.
Birdman.
Did you ever have like cowboy movie times, right?
A spaghetti
Where it's
western.
like the Western times. You got like the outlaws and the sheriffs and stuff like that. Well, we of course lived and grew up in the Western America. We grew up on the Pacific Coast. Did you ever go like? But when was that? Because you know you look at the history books and we got like Oregon Trail, and we got like modern day. It's like, but when was the Cowboys? You know where?
Never.
And I kind of look at the middle of the country, and I'm like, there's not really like a desert there. And of course, it's not. Well, for one, there actually is a desert there. It just doesn't look sandy. And to be fair, you know, a lot of westerns aren't just like the Sahara, you know. But it's like when it just feels so weird. It's like how though? When though?
Yeah, it's like that actual time period is like 5 time periods in one.
But like it did happen.
Well, it did, but a lot of what's presented in like spaghetti westerns are exaggerations of like actual history.
Well, yeah, but I think you still have the things like the sheriffs and the fairly independent, like decentralized law enforcement. Just because you know what the heck are you gonna do? It's the middle of like Wyoming. Whoops! Like how the hell you're not gonna get the federal government out here?
Yeah.
Like, but it's just such a I feel like there's never a time in class where you learn about the Western times. It's like where.
I had one.
And like because this is a thing, right? It might have changed since like I was in elementary school. Well, you maybe can help, even though you weren't that far behind me. Where it was federal law for a lot of elementary, and I think maybe a section of middle school. You would learn the history of your state, and then the later years were much more the country as a whole for history. Now, this is a fine philosophy if you're New York or Texas even, or Illinois. If you're the West Coast, that means you spend like 7 to 8 years of your education learning about the Oregon Trail.
It was brutal.
It's like, it's just wagons. It's like, look, I've learned about the wagons. I appreciate
I got
local
so fed up.
history is important. But by God, 100 years is not you can't fill that long with 100 years. Even though you can get more detailed every year, it's like today, this year, we're going to learn about clothing of like the 1850s. It's like this is the 3rd year I've learned about clothing. It's an interesting subject, but God, can I learn about like pick another state? I don't care. Just give me or like the tribes. which, to be fair, there is education on the tribes, but you could probably do more, if we're talking about the third year where you learn about fashion of the 1850s. But because it's federal, it's like it's good enough for most states, and it makes sense there that but yeah, it's like, God, we don't have enough history. Washington is not that old, guys. Yeah, it's like New York, I don't know. I even wonder if like East Coast states struggle with the amount of history they have to fill. Because then we do things like we cram like the entirety of European history into a year or like half a year in high school, and it's an elective.
I mean, the more time that happens, the more history we need to slam in a test book.
I mean, every country is kind of probably focuses a little too heavy on their country, but other countries are better. Europe does have the advantage of like you basically have to interact with other countries, where America is like effectively an island with a friendly, all equally young Canada and a Mexico that is, at least for us, far away and also even younger. Like, still, we could be better with the indigenous populations, but like, God, can we not learn about? Even then, what the hell do you learn about Africa? Like, there's the slave trade, and that's it. That's Africa. Done. Covered.
Yeah, I mean, 3rd through 6th grade,
Asia?
I was learning about things.
Do you even learn about Asia without taking an elective?
I don't think I ever did.
Like, they're mentioned in World War II, sure. I don't actually know if
I ever did.
You'll probably learn about, like, the Silk Road.
Nope.
Come on. I bet.
Never, like, taught in class.
I bet you could have done something about Asia in elementary school instead of like 1850s fashion again.
Oh yeah.
Or like, it's just not enough. Not enough. And I'm sure our European audience sadly can somehow relate, actually, for a lot of, like, despite having like 2,000 years of history in some of these countries. It's like, I know we've done this so many times. Like, can we learn about a different aspect of history that, well, at least within the internet now, you can do that. You can watch these interesting things or learn about them. Like, I loved, one of my favorite classes in college was Russian history. As an elective. I had to take an elective of that type, but I chose Russian history. And of course, at the college level, you can go really crazy deep. And that was one I took during lockdown. And so the way the online class was structured is you'd have about like maybe 2 to 4 weeks of material for like a course. Sorry. And I think it was actually 2 weeks, basically all the time. And at the start of the 2 weeks, like all the lectures, the recordings would drop and the assignments would drop. And you just had to do them like sometime at your own pace in those 2 weeks. So you could do it like once a day if you wanted. But it meant that I would often, it'd be like, a Saturday or something. It's like, you know what? I'm in the mood for like college level Russian history and culture classes. And because then I was actually in the mood to do them, I'd maybe once or twice, I think I did like the whole 2 weeks, or like I would do a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
But because I was actually also in the mood to learn it. And yeah, my Italian Renaissance art class was very similar, where it was a 2-hour class, I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the teacher would have a break. A little bit of a break in the middle. It was in Seattle, so there's a coffee break. You could probably go like down the hall to the Starbucks in the building, like on campus. I don't know. I didn't drink coffee, but it was just so deep and interesting that sometimes he'd be like, right, we're like 15 minutes over our break time, and it was like. I got in here 10 minutes ago. Like, what do you mean? It's this, might have even been 2.5, or it might have even been 3, like something stupid long, but it would often like fly by. It's like, I could genuinely have sat here for like 10 more hours listening to these college level courses. Yeah. No, there's some good, I mean, you'll get some bad teachers too, where you just don't click. I had an architecture class, which I just didn't click with, even though the topic is interesting. Just the way it was taught was like,
Oh yeah.
I'd struggle to stay awake. But I know those two classes in particular were good. Philosophy was great, but philosophy's always great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even sure we're keeping up a facade of trying to with Doctor Who. So maybe
Doctor Who.
maybe I just call it here, and then we can talk after if we want.
Oh, I'll say,
Yes.
Go on the Fireplace, real good. I've heard ever since Rogue about this one. I didn't know where it was gonna stand. I really liked it.
I did.
It was, yeah, and I was surprised. It was
still
good.
Critically, I don't like a lot of the aspects with the Doctor and Renee. I can understand that the Doctor and Rose aren't a couple, that we just bought Rose's boyfriend back on board. I mean, yeah, and off and on. It's complicated, like the Doctor isn't obligated to be faithful to Rose right now.
Yeah.
But it's still odd for the Doctor. It's really odd. I don't like that he doesn't seem smitten until he learns it's Renee. I think that was just maybe a problem with direction or acting. Because I think there's also, it might not be smitten. It's also just like a level of surprise. Like, oh my God, that's Renee.
Uh-huh.
But I understand definitely the criticism there. Actually, to bring it back to Doctor Who, do you have any feelings on like the Time Lords, where the Doctor now is 900 something years old, having romantic relationships with humans of basically any age, but often like Rose is 20 right now. She was 19 last season.
It's weird.
See, I have never complained about the age gap, like provided the human is also like a consenting adult.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for my brain to fathom that relationship dynamic.
I don't understand though, like why.
40-year-old and like some 1,000-year-old, it doesn't really click in my head.
Why? I mean,
like
a 40-year-old and an 80-year-old, most people wouldn't bat an eye at. But what really changes if you extend that by like 800 years? Like it. I think the problem is sort of a knowledge and experience, like a consent issue with an age gap. But assuming that, so I can kind of understand why people wouldn't like the 19 and 900, but because people wouldn't like 19 and like 35.
Yeah.
The extra 100 years really don't really make a difference in that book. But it's like, why?
I mean, if you look at
like if you have the
Time Lord age, 40 is like
that's a
10.
child. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get into these weird things. There's a Star Trek character who has a lifespan of 9 years. Their race is like 9 years. So at like 2 or 3, their society considers them an adult. At like 3, they become like they're able to reproduce. I can't remember the scientific term. And they're dating an adult character with like a traditional lifespan, and a lot of people have problems with that. And I'm like, once you get into the aliens and stuff, you really have to go like, is the moral issue literally the numbers? Because that seems really arbitrary. Like the moral problem isn't the numbers are different. Because again, like a 19 and a 40-year-old is bad. A 40-year-old and a 6-year-old is fine, but a 6D. Let me enunciate that one better. But that's the same age gap, right? Like, it's clearly something about the younger person not understanding the situation. So assuming that they can, even say it's like a 30-year-old in the Doctor, why not? It's like, I don't...
Just don't let the Doctor do romance.
Well, like Renee was like 37. She was like 20 to 37 in this scene. I agree it's not interesting to me narratively. It's like the least interesting companion dynamic. But I don't have a moral objection to it, at least in theory. Obviously, you can do a bad romance with the Doctor and someone else, Amy Pond. But, it's...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that scene. Yeah. Next week, I mentioned this before. It's a 2-parter next. Rise of the Cybermen in the Age of Steel. It's got a surprise returning villain. Spoilers, but I'll keep you in suspense on who is in Rise of the Cybermen
Right.
in the Age of Steel. Yeah, I think it's the Autons, the plastic ones, you know.
Yay!
Actually, we don't get Autons again. That's not entirely true. We don't get an Auton episode in the modern era again. I guess, what are you gonna do with them? It's kind of just window shop dummies. Like, there are 2 classic Doctor Who Auton episodes, and they are just like, I guess there's a little bit of different things. I think we almost got one. Actually, there was an environmental one in the Chibnall era that a lot of people think should have been the Autons, but I don't remember if it was ever supposed to be.
The first episode
of the new
Modern
one
Who
was the Autons. Yeah. You've actually seen 2/3 of all the Auton episodes in the show. You haven't seen Spearhead, though. That's the first of the 3rd Doctor. That's a good one, too. It just didn't have as many bad effects, so I didn't show it to you.
Understandable.
But yeah, I think you were a little unsure if you could commit to 2 episodes next week.
I think, actually now that might be... I'll keep you in the loop because of the situation I told you about kind of yesterday and right now. Housing is weird.
Well, we might be doing the 2-parter. We should at least do episode 1, unless Caden just is super busy. But yeah, that'll be a good one. We haven't had a 2-parter for a while, and I think there's 3 2-parters in this season, and they're all backloaded.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the next 2. Then there's one in the middle, episodes 8 and 9. So there's the 2-parter, a 1 episode, a 2-parter, Love and Monsters Fear Her. Depending on who you ask, that might be a rough slog. That's a 2-parter of bad to some people. And then the 2-part finale of the season. So yeah, I you can watch the community tab. I'll keep people posted on any delays or stuff like that. But I will say thank you all very much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Oh.
Is that a good one?
Caden, we're live now.
Oh, we're live.
Wait. Yeah. Damn it. We're live now.
That was such a good one, though.
Okay, I recorded it, though. I did this once before. Yeah, I was like, hang on, that didn't do the bop-up of, yeah, I'll,
Oh, it's funny. Guys, it was a good one today.
Caden, my footage, in fact, stop. Okay, YouTube people, I'm going to say bye. I'm going to stop recording now, just so, you know.